Today, we're going to take a look at the reward for the ongoing February 2025 campaign. Tier 7 Premium French Battleship Picardie, or Picardie. I don't know where the emphasis is supposed to go when you pronounce the name, but this is a good ship. In fact, it's not only a good ship, and by that I mean effective, it's also a fun ship to play. If you take a look at it, it's more or less a Leon at Tier 6, except up-tiered into Tier 7 with some crucial differences, one of which being the armor scheme. The Leon at Tier 6 has less armor than this. It has, I think, 25 or 26 millimeter plating everywhere. The Picardie is not quite like that. It's got the standard 32 millimeter armor plating everywhere. And the upper belt armor on the midsection of the ship is actually quite robust at, I think, 300 millimeters. So it's quite tanky, and a good deal of the armor, at least on the side, will even shatter HE. That being said, you can still get penned 32 millimeters by practically everything if you're not angled. But, of course, you can bounce stuff off the bow. You're not going to get overmatched by anything except, I suppose, Musashi at Tier 8. So it does offer a little bit more protection in that sense, and there's some other differences. But I should start off by telling you I've played this ship about, 10, 15 times. Majority of the time, I was using Guprat as the commander, the free-to-play French battleship commander who buffs the speed with his base trait and then has all the requisite secondary skills. That's important because this thing does have 24 secondaries. And what I found was Guprat was fine. However, if you were going to take Guprat and build him for full secondaries, then you didn't really have anything to spec into the accuracy on the main battery guns. And of course, with this being a Leon, there are 16 main battery guns, although they are smaller than the Leons. They're only 305 millimeters. And without the flammable cannoneer skill, which I am running in this game because I've got Spock at the helm. Suddenly, Spock is an even more valuable commander than he was when all the Star Trek content was released. I'm using Spock because he's got flammable cannoneer in the first row, which improves the accuracy and the range on the main battery. And he's also got Porcupine, which improves the range of the secondaries. And I wanted both. I found that was really good for this ship because while it worked quite well with Guprat, and you could certainly build it that way, the main battery guns just were not accurate. And with them being 305 millimeter guns, it was a little bit difficult to dial in the aim on the AP. It's not going to be penning as much as a conventional battleship with larger guns. And so therefore, you want to be able to aim it at the parts of the ship that you can pen. Otherwise, it's just going to land everywhere randomly, and you're really going to get no damage out of it. So I found myself spamming a lot of HE when I had Guprat at the helm. When I put Spock on there and improved the accuracy just a little bit, only using flammable cannoneer, then, well, I found the AP was a little bit more effective. So that's maybe a bit of a problem if you don't have anybody except the free-to-play commander, but Guprat works well enough. Anyway, we'll run down the stats. Keep in mind they are influenced by Spock. We've got 61,000 HP, which is kind of low for a Tier 7 battleship. I think that's more like a Tier 6 battleship HP pool. But the armor does offer a lot of protection, and as you can see, the guns are very good at taking out cruisers. That's 3 Citadels there against the broadside Mogami, who tried but tragically failed to hide behind that island. As I said, there are 16 of these guns, 305 millimeters. With flammable cannoneer, they range out to 19.1 kilometers. They reload in 27 seconds, and they've got a 30-second turret traverse time. The maximum HE shell damage is pretty low, which you would expect for smaller 305 millimeter guns. 3,500 maximum HE shell damage with a 15% fire chance. And the AP alpha is likewise low at 7,450. But that doesn't mean the guns can't do a ton of damage. They certainly can. Then it's got some AA defenses, an aggregate rating of 67. I think it's all right at shooting down planes, but it's not gonna delete a full squadron, I don't think. Maneuverability is all right. It's got a 30 knot top speed, not quite as fast as maybe some of the other battleships at the tier, but certainly not slow. It's got a nice turning circle of 700 meters, and it's got a lightning fast rudder shift time for a battleship, 12.8 seconds. And that's not even specking into the rudder shift with the mod or anything else. That's just a pretty fast rudder shift time for any battleship. And the concealment, without, by the way, Kondo as an inspiration, I know you're shocked. But on Spock, I've got Enrique Fernandez and I've got Franz von Hipper as the two inspirations. I've only got the concealment mod running. So with the concealment mod, 12.4 kilometers by sea, which is well in line with a lot of the battleships that I run at Tier 7 with Kondo as an inspiration. If you did want to use Kondo instead of double secondary inspirations, which, I may switch to from time to time, then you'll get an 11.7 kilometer detect, which is just tremendous. Anyway, this ship is sort of like a secondary brawler. That's the one thing we haven't mentioned yet, but this thing does have a whopping 24 secondaries. It's got 4 sets of double turrets and then 4 sets of quadruple turrets. All of them are 130 millimeter guns, French destroyer size, and with the full secondary build using Fernandez and Hipper, the secondary mod, and Porcupine, we've got an 11.1 kilometer range. Secondaries reload in 4 seconds. That's kind of slow, but they do 1,800 damage, and they have a 9% fire chance. And as I understand it, they've got improved penetration. If they followed the 1/6 pen formula of most HE in the game, then they wouldn't be penning 32 millimeters of armor, but from all appearances, they do. And so that's useful. They'll do a lot of damage. And the Picardie is one of, I think, only 2 ships with the enhanced secondary targeting consumable 2. You see that in the very last row, the secondary consumable with the red outline. That means it's improved compared to the one with the green outline. This thing reduces the secondary battery reload time by 25%. Improves the dispersion, or rather the sigma, the shell grouping, by 50%, improves the dispersion by 25%, and lasts for 39 seconds. So it's a little bit better than the conventional one. We've also got main battery reload booster, 2 charges of it, and we've got a conventional battleship repair. Well, it might not be fully conventional. It does 434 HP per second. And if we compare that to something like the Richelieu's only does 337. So the heal here might be slightly improved. It does seem to restore more HP than a typical battleship heal, but it doesn't rise to the level of super heal or anything like that. And all of these tools together make it a pretty good brawler. Now, we spent the opening part of this game pushing into a position where we finally could brawl, and we've arrived now in front of the Nagato, who is presenting broadside to us. Maybe not a great idea. We're actually the only battleship left on this team in an even match with an even ship count. And so what we do is going to be crucial to our team's success. That's why we're out here with the Nagato. We feel we can finish him off fairly quickly. The Grom is complicating things. Torpedoes are going to be coming into the water, so we're going to have to dodge those. But we feel like we can finish the Nagato and then turn our attention back to the 2 battleships that are pushing into our last remaining cruiser over near the Charlie Cap. Grom goes dark inside of the smoke screen. Nagato is on perilously low health. Maybe one of these secondaries? No, we only get a fisting ribbon. Unfortunate. But we still got Nelson, we've got Iowa, and we've got Belfast, not to mention the Grom. By the way, you can see now that our heal is active, it restores about 2 bars of HP, maybe slightly less than that. So I think it is somewhat improved. Anyway, we're going to have to try to get rid of the Grom so we don't have to worry about torpedoes, and then take out this Belfast 43. We've still got both of our friendly DDs alive, which is why we're having so much success in this game. The two of them have been playing the caps and doing a great job, and we need to make sure that they don't die to this Belfast and his radar. He's reversing broadside to us, which is not a great idea. 16 guns, and, well, only 11,000 damage because we get 4 overpens and only 1 citadel. But we do get the high caliber medal. Again, these are small guns. They're really super cruiser-sized guns at 305 millimeters. So sometimes you won't get the big knockout dev strikes even against cruisers. We did earlier against the Mogami. We didn't that time against the Belfast 43. Even with flammable cannoneer, it's not like the main battery guns are super pinpoint accurate, and you can expect excellent dispersion every single time you pull the trigger. Belfast is able to sort of get away. We land another citadel on him, but he's on low health, and he's low enough that our 2 friendly DDs, or at least one of them, feels confident enough to do some open water gunboating to shave off the rest of his HP. And then once that Belfast goes down, that's just going to leave the Nelson. So I think this is a fun ship. This is sort of reminiscent in some ways of the Flandre. Flandre is also a secondary French battleship. I think this Picardie is only the second ship in the game on the French battleship line or tree, whatever you want to call it, that can actually build into secondaries and be effective. Flandre, on the other hand, though, has a lot of small secondaries without any kind of improved pen. So they don't actually do any damage when they hit, but they do fire more quickly than these, and they light a lot of fires. These, on the other hand, fire a little bit more slowly, but they actually get pen damage when they hit, and they still light a healthy amount of fires, although in this battle we've only lit 3. We've done 152,000 damage, gotten the high caliber and Confederate medals. Pretty good results. We've still got, I think it's Nelson left that we still have to fight, and so we're going to approach him and just farm a little bit more damage before this battle ends with our victory. So far, I've got a 77% win rate in this thing, so I think it's pretty good. And I would highly recommend getting the Admiralty backing and finishing out this campaign. I don't think this is the strongest battleship that World of Warships Legends has ever seen, but I think it's effective and it's fun. It's well worth playing. The secondaries are nice. The armor improvement over the Leon is also quite nice. It's just the main battery guns, I would say, that are a little bit underwhelming. There are 16, so the anemic alpha damage on both the AP and HE is sort of made up for by the shell volume, but you might find yourself in a little bit of a tricky place if all you've got is the free-to-play commanders. If that's the case, I'd still recommend Emile Guprat. I'm probably butchering his name, but you would want to use him so that you can get more range out of the secondaries and so that you can get an extra heal. I suppose you could use Robert Jojo. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's the accuracy commander. But then if you do that, you're not going to be getting full range out of the secondaries. So I'd go with Guprat, but if you have Spock, Spock is definitely the way to go because you can build for both main gun accuracy and secondaries. In any case, fun ship, decent battle. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.